That is the field before the lines and bases are put down. The grounds crew performs this same ritual for every game on every field, laying chalk lines, putting down bases, mowing the outfield. It's as timeless as the game itself, and it's all in anticipation of two words: play ball.
It's time for Dixie Junior Boys Baseball. Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jody Vermilio. Welcome back to Oscar Frazier Park in Bluffton, South Carolina, for this game between the visiting St. George All-Stars and the home team for this game, the Sumter All-Stars. You see Sumter out on the field. Let's give you a rundown of St. George's starting lineup. Waylon Gruber will lead off for St. George. He'll be pitching this game. Connor Hartzog will bat second and be at shortstop. Dawson O'Brien hits third and plays first. Justin Paget in left field bats cleanup. Ben Merchant in center field hits fifth. Nicholas Pinckney at third base hits sixth. Mason Fender, the second baseman, hits seventh. Adam Clegg, the catcher, hits eighth. And Drake Hutto in right field bats ninth and rounds out the batting order for the St. George All-Stars. Defensively for the Sumter All-Stars in the outfield, it's Bryson Hodge in left, Blake Van Patten in center, and Sean Rouse over in right around the infield. Chase Denton at third, Clark Kinney at short. Over at second, it's Dylan Jones. Hayden Mims will man first base. Jess Schwedler does the catching, and he will catch Ben Reynolds. And there's a shot of Ben Reynolds as he completes his warm-up tosses. This is an elimination game here at Oscar Frazier Park, so the winner of this game will move on to Championship Thursday. And as the evening progresses, and we have our second game, which will come your way at 7 o'clock, we'll explain a couple of different scenarios that we could have to unpack for you. But let's play ball first. There's the throw down to second. We're ready to go.
Leading off for St. George is number 6, Waylon Gruber.
And here comes Waylon Gruber, the pitcher for St. George. He digs in and he leads off. There goes the Sumter All-Stars back to their positions. And we're almost ready to go. Last night, of course, we had 3 games at 7 o'clock. Each of those games suspended because of the storms that moved through here, and it really rained. After we went off the air, lightning and thunder, and it poured. So those games were suspended until today. The Buford All-Stars came back to beat, who'd they beat, St. George? I believe it was St. George they defeated over on field 2. Beaufort County on the junior side remains the only undefeated team in the tournament. So, and they'll be up here at 7 o'clock right here live on the county channel. We're ready to go. First pitch of the afternoon misses. Inside for ball 1. We are underway from Oscar Frazier Park and field 3, the Leo Vanoni Memorial Field. 1-0 pitch is on the outside corner, and the count 1-1. 1-1 pitch on the way. There's a swing and a miss, and the count goes to 1-2. Ben Reynolds again ready. And the 1-2 pitch on the way is outside. The count 2-2. We want to thank all of the people, all of our viewers who are tuning in at BeaufortCountySC.gov and also live on the county channel itself. We appreciate you tuning in for this tournament, and you've been treated to some exciting baseball all week long. The count's now full, 3-2 on Waylon Gruber. In the top of the first with the bases empty and nobody out. The weather should be clear sailing. It's much less humid at Oscar Frazier Park today. Temperature low to mid 80s. So for July weather in the low country, it's actually very pleasant as the 3-2 pitch catches the outside corner for called strike 3. Waylon Gruber goes back to the dugout, and that's the first out here in the top of the first. And that'll bring up Connor Hartzog.
Now batting, number 25, Connor Hartzog.
Ben Reynolds looks in, gets his sign, pitch on the way, fouled away, and the count 0-1. Reynolds again looks in. He delivers the 0-1 pitch. That's ripped to third, fielded on a hop and knocked down by the third baseman. He recovers and throws on to first in time. That was a good play by Chase Denton over at third base to keep that in front of him. And then he unloaded an accurate throw to Mims. And that's 2 quick outs in the top of the first inning. And that'll bring up Dawson O'Brien.
Now batting, number 22, Dawson O'Brien.
Base is empty, 2 outs, no score. In the top of the first, pitch on the way is on the outside corner. Strike 1 to Dawson O'Brien. That's outside. And the count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. Reynolds to the plate. That's got away from him as that misses inside, and O'Brien has to duck out of the way. And now 2-1 the count. Up high again, ball 3. Fouled away, first base side out of play, and that will fill the count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Just as we've seen all tournament long, another great crowd on hand for both games. The field here at Game 3 and the field over on Field 2. As a 3-2 pitch misses inside, there's the first base runner of the afternoon for St. George. A 2-out walk to Dawson O'Brien, and that'll bring up the left fielder Justin Paget.
Now batting, number 17, Justin Paget.
So Dawson O'Brien gets a modest lead off of first. The pitch to the plate, sweeps outside. 1 ball, no strikes. The count to Justin Paget. That's a strike. Ben Reynolds looks the runner back to first. and brings it to the plate, and that's in there for a strike. No balls and 2 strikes to Justin Paget. We're just underway in the top of the first inning. Dawson O'Brien, who reached first with a 2-out walk, is just chased back to first by Ben Reynolds. So O'Brien is the runner at first. Justin Paget awaits the 0-2 pitch, and here it is. And it's on the outside corner for call strike 3, and that will put a lid on the top of the first inning. So St. George gets a 2-out walk, but they leave that runner stranded. We go to the bottom of the first. In the Dixie Junior Boys State Tournament, no score. Sumter comes up to bat. We'll be right back on the County Channel. Sumter comes to bat in the bottom of the first, no score in this Dixie Junior Boys elimination game. Sean Rouse, Dylan Jones, and Clark Kinney will be the first 3 batters for Sumter, and they'll be up against Waylon Gruber, who is on the mound for St. George. Gruber looks in, now he steps off, and now he steps back on the rubber. He picks up his sign. And the first pitch of the bottom of the first is an off-speed pitch that Sean Rouse swings and misses. And the count, no balls and a strike. A 1 pitch on the way. Inside, and the count's 1-1. Off-speed pitch stays outside. The count now 2 balls and 1 strike to Sean Rouse. Rouse, a big, strong right-handed batter, and he pops that a mile in the air on the infield. Second baseman calls for it, and he has it for the first out in the bottom of the first. So Rouse pops to second, and that'll bring up Dylan Jones. And there's a ball outside from Gruber. 1 ball, no strikes. That is hit out towards second. And on to first in time for 2 outs. 2 up and 2 down for Sumter in the bottom of the first. And that'll bring up Clark Kinney, the shortstop. Bases empty, 2 outs, no score. Bottom of the first. Pitch on the way to Kenny's outside for ball 1. There's an off-speed pitch, cut on and missed. The count's even now, 1-1. One pitch misses, and the count's 2-1 to Clark Kinney.
That's all they've been talking about. Matt needs to get that to radio.
Full count now, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Clark Kinney. Three-two pitch on the way is hit foul. Up past third, the count stays 3-2. Our 7 o'clock game here on the County Channel will feature the host team, the Beaufort County All-Stars versus North Augusta. As that pitch is ripped into center field, a solid 2-out single for Clark Kinney. And Sumter has their first man aboard. That'll bring up Jess Schwedler, the catcher.
Now batting number 3, Jess Schwedler.
Kinney with a good size lead off first. Schwedler digs in. Gruber throws over, and it gets down the right field line, and that's going to allow the runner to advance on a belly flop to second. That was less of a slide and more of a little bit of a belly flop there by Clark Kinney. Hope he's okay. He's safe. So runner in scoring position now for Sumter's. That's lifted into deep center field, but caught out there by Ben Merchant for out number 3. So Sumter gets a 2-out single. They leave that runner stranded. We go to the top of the second. Still no score. We'll be right back on the County Channel. There's no score as we head to the top of the second inning. leading off? Alan? Who's leading off? Got it.
It's 14. They put 4 on the card. It's 14.
Ben Reynolds still on the mound for Sumter. And Ben Marchant is how you say that name, leads off for St. George. I think I might have called him Merchant when I did the starting lineup, so I apologize for that. Marchant digs back in. Reynolds with the sign. Pitch on the way is outside. Reynolds again ready. Pitch on the way. Is right through there. And they count now 3 balls and a strike to Ben Marchand, leading off the top of the second. No score in the ball game. And that's outside and low for ball 4. It's a leadoff walk for St. George. A good start for the to the top of the second. And that'll bring up Nicholas Pinckney.
Now batting number 26, Nicholas Pinckney.
So runner on first, nobody out, top of the second. And now 1 ball, no strikes, the count to Nicholas Pinckney. There's a half swing and a miss. Nope. 1 ball, 1 strike now the count. Thank you, Mr. Umpire. 1 ball, 1 strike the count to Nicholas Pinckney. One pitch on the way is on the outside corner. Nice pitch for strike 2. 1-2 the count. Marchant leads off first. He led off the top of the second with a walk. And the count's now 1 ball and 2 strikes to Nicholas Pinckney. Reynolds gets set. And the 1-2 pitch misses high and outside. 2-2 the count. Two pitch is chopped up toward first. It's going to trickle foul. And we'll do it all over again. The runner returns to first. Marchant jogs back toward first. Pinckney comes back to the batter's box, and it'll be a 2 ball, 2 strike count. Two pitch on the way is outside. And another full count. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Nicholas Pinckney. Reynolds with a long look in. He gets his sign from Schwedler. And to the plate is swung on and missed for strike 3. So there's the first out in the top of the second. Runner remains at first. And that'll bring up Mason Fender. There's still no score as we play in the top of the second. And there's another good shot in from center field on the Beaufort County drone.
Now batting number 16, Mason Fender.
Fender stands in with Marchant still at first and now 1 out in the top of the second. Big swing and a miss, strike 1 to Fender. one pitch stays high, and the count now 1 ball and 1 strike. Snap throw over toward first to keep the runner honest. And Marchant is back safely. Now Reynolds ready. He brings it to the plate and he catches the outside corner. And that'll take the count to 1-2. On field 2, a Dixie boys game, North Myrtle Beach and St. George all tied up 1-1. And the count's now 2 balls, 2 strikes to Mason Fender over here on field 3, with Ben Marchant, the runner at first, and 1 out here in the top of inning 2. There's a swing and a miss for strike 3, so Fender goes down swinging. That's the 2nd out in the top of the 2nd, and that'll bring up Adam Clegg.
Now batting number 21, Adam Clegg.
Clegg stands in. Marchant leads off first. And the pitch on the way is inside and hits Clegg right on the numbers. So it's a hit batsman. Clegg trots down to first. Marchant goes down to second.
Now batting for St. George, number 7, Drake Hugo.
And Drake Hutto, the batter, now for St. George. Philip Robinson will run over at first for Clegg. So Robinson becomes the runner at first. Marchant the runner down at second. And here's Drake Hutto. And in that shot right there from our drone in from center field, to me at least, looks a little greener out there than it did yesterday when we started. This field took on a lot of water. So runners lead off first and second. And play has slowed down to a snail's pace here in the top of the 2nd. Looks like maybe Reynolds and Schwedler having a hard time getting together on the signs. Reynolds gives both runners a look, and now he brings it to the plate. And it's on the outside corner for strike 1. Runners lead off first and second. The pitch to the plate is lifted out toward left field. That is going to. Is that a fair ball? Foul ball, just foul, barely foul. I didn't see the umpire's signal because I was looking in the wrong place. So that's just a foul ball, a noisy strike. The runners will return to first and second, and it will be a no ball and 2 strike count to Drake Hutto. No score as we play in the top of the 2nd. St. George trying to change that. They've got runners on first and second with 2 outs. It's a no ball and 2 strike count to Drake Hutto. Reynolds again gives the runners a glance. He comes set and he brings it to the plate. Outside in the dirt, and the count goes to 1-2. 1-2 pitch on the way to Hutto. Just misses outside. 2-2 the count. That was a close pitch. Good eye there by Hutto. Hit out towards second and caught by the second baseman for out number 3. St. George gets a couple of base runners, but they can't get them across. We head to the bottom of the second. Still no score from Field 3 at Oscar Frazier Park. We'll be right back for the bottom of inning 2 right here on the Beaufort County Channel. Ben Reynolds leads off for Sumter as they come to bat in the bottom of the second. Still no score in this elimination game in the Dixie Junior Boys Division of this tournament. One ball and no strikes the count to Ben Reynolds. Off speed pitch has Reynolds out in front, and the count's now 1-1. Waylon Gruber on the mound still for St. George. And the pitch to the plate's another off-speed pitch that's missed. 1-2 the count. One-two pitch on the way. Just outside. Now the count even, 2-2. And the count now full. 3 balls, 2 strikes to Ben Reynolds. Way outside for ball 4. Reynolds trots down to first with a leadoff walk. Good start for Sumter. And that'll bring up the first baseman, Hayden Mims.
Now batting number 5, Hayden Mims. Who's doing the county channel? I can't see. Kind of small.
The pitch goes behind Mims' back, and the count's 1 ball, no strikes. Sometimes those off-speed pitches get away from these young men. And I think that was the case there for Gruber. He tosses over to first to keep Ben Reynolds close. There is no score. We're in the bottom of the second, and this may be the deepest a game has gone that I've called, at least, where neither team scored. Some good pitching on both sides in this game. The count's 1 ball and 1 strike to Hayden Mims. Ben Reynolds leads off first. He led off the bottom of the second with a walk. And there's a pitch that stays way high, and the count's now 2-1. That pitch is ripped into left field. That's going to get down for a solid single. Hayden Mims with a line drive single to left field. That puts runners on first and second, and Sumter has something going here in the bottom of the second. Chase Denton now the batter. Denton, the third baseman for Sumter. Runners lead off first and second. Gruber gives the runners a glance. Now he throws over to first. We've seen these teams running at will all tournament long, and you can't blame Gruber for trying to keep them close. Pitch is fouled back to the screen, and the count's no balls and a strike to Chase Denton. Gruber with a look in. A look back to the runners. Off speed pitch. Curveball in there for a strike. 0-2 the count to Denton. And an off-speed pitch has Denton out in front. And he must have got a piece of it and fouled it off, and the count stays 0-2. You don't see an overabundance of curveballs and off-speed pitches at this level simply because it puts so much pressure on these young men's elbows and shoulders. You'll see one once in a while, but it's not the steady diet you see sometimes in the majors. And the count, as that pitch misses outside, goes to 1-2 on Denton. Runners get their leads off first and second. The pitch to the plate, another off-speed pitch. This one stays outside. And Denton has battled back to even the count. Or is it 3-2? Is it 3-2? 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. Runners lead as that pitch is hit into left field. Left fielder got a good jump on that ball, and he puts it away for the first out in the bottom of the second. Justin Paget out there in left field got a good read on that ball off the bat, and he was able to come in and make the catch. The runners will remain at first and second. That's the first out in the bottom of the second. A couple of times yesterday on plays similar to that, we saw the outfielders not get as good a read and actually misjudge a couple of fly balls that got over their heads. Bryson Hodge now the batter with 1 out and runners on first and second here in the bottom of the second. That is popped up a mile high on the infield. Shortstop calls for it, and he has it for the second out. So after a walk and a single to start the bottom of the second, Gruber bears down against the next 2 men he faces, so there's 2 on 2 out now. And Blake Van Patten will stand in for Sumter. Gruber's pitch misses outside for ball 1. Snap throw toward second, closer play. but Ben Reynolds able to get back safely. Ben Reynolds is the runner at second. Hayden Mims is the runner at first. The pitch to the plate's another off-speed pitch that Van Patten swings at and misses, and that'll make the count 1-1. Another off-speed pitch. This one stays high and outside. 2 balls and a strike. And 3 balls, 1 strike. Now the count to Van Patten. Big Sean Rouse waits on deck for Sumter. 3-1 pitch is ripped to third, fielded by the third baseman across the diamond in time. Van Patten is retired, and so is Sumter here in the bottom of the second. Sumter gets a couple of men on, but they can't score. And the game remains scoreless as we head to the top of the third. We'll be right back live on the County Channel. We head to the top of the third inning in a scoreless game. A good game here between the St. George All-Stars and the Sumter All-Stars. Ben Reynolds on the mound for Sumter. Waylon Gruber leads off for St. George. As we flip the batting order, go back to the top of the order. And it's strike 1 to Gruber. No balls and a strike. On the other field, field 2, North Myrtle Beach has taken a 2-1 lead over St. George. That's the boys division. The count now 1 ball and 1 strike to Waylon Gruber. And of course, coming up at 7 o'clock right here on the County Channel, the host team, the Beaufort County All-Stars, will face North Augusta. And we really believe it'll be those two teams, and we really think it'll start at 7. Unlike last night where they changed up the teams and changed up the times and had everybody confused. Pitch is in there for a strike, and the count's now 1 ball, 2 strikes to Waylon Gruber. Yeah, Robert must be, but that's what happened. That pitch is to the screen, and that'll leave the count 2-2. Both teams have had some base runners, but neither team has been able to get the big hit to dent the scoreboard. We are scoreless in the top of the third. And Gruber awaits the 2-2 pitch from Ben Reynolds. Check swing. Did he go? The appeal, that is a swing, and that's a strikeout. So Gruber strikes out to open the top of the third. Base is empty, 1 out, and Connor Hartzog will be the batter.
Now batting number 25, Connor Hartzog.
Hartzog digs in. Reynolds with the pitch. Fouled off back to the screen. No balls and a strike. A 1 pitch on the way to Hartzog. High and tight. 1-1 the count. Pitch is ripped to third and past third down the left field line. That's going to be at least 1. Hartzog thought about digging in and going to second, but he'll return to first. A solid single with 1 out for St. George, and that'll bring up Dawson O'Brien.
Now batting number 22, Dawson O'Brien.
Runner at first, 1 down. No score, top of the third. Dawson O'Brien digs in against Ben Reynolds. Pitch to the plate, hit out towards center field. That's going to get down in front of the center fielder. It's back-to-back singles for St. George with 1 out in the top of the third. And now Justin Paget will come to the plate. Connor Hartzog, the runner at second. Dawson O'Brien, the runner over at first. And another chance for St. George to strike first. Paget digs in. Reynolds gives the runners a glance. Now he throws back towards second, and a diving stop by the second baseman kept that ball from going into center field. Reynolds becomes much more deliberate, as you can understand, with runners on base. And now he brings it to the plate, and it's high for ball 1 to Justin Paget. One 0 pitch is in there for a strike. 1-1 the count. Hartzog leads down at second. O'Brien leads over at first. Pitch to the plate is popped up on the infield. Second baseman one-hands it, and that's the second out. Runners stay at first and second. And now Ben Merchant, the batter.
Now batting number 14, Ben Marchand.
Pitch is high, ball one. One 0 pitch on the way. Hit out toward right field and caught for out number 3. So once again, a couple of base runners. This time for St. George, but once again, the big hit eludes these teams, and we head to the bottom of the third. Still no score from Field 3 live on the County Channel. Sean Rouse will lead off for Sumter in the home half of the third inning. No score in this ball game. Both teams with opportunities. Neither team with a big hit thus far. Gruber comes set, and it's hit off the end of the bat toward first, fielded by the first baseman on the fly. And very quickly, one retired in the bottom of the third. That'll bring up Dylan Jones.
Now batting number 9, Dylan Jones.
Over on field 2, they're in the third inning. North Myrtle Beach still leads St. George 2-1. That's the boys division of this tournament. And coming up at 7 o'clock, back here at field 3, more junior boys action. The host team, the Beaufort County All-Stars, against the North Augusta All-Stars. There's a bunt foul down the third baseline. Good idea by Dylan Jones, but foul all the way, and it's strike one. Jones, a left-handed batter, and he awaits the 0-1 pitch. Here it is. It's outside and high. 1 ball, 1 strike. Hit high and deep into right field, over toward the line, and caught out there in right field by Drake Hutto for the second out in the bottom of the third. 2 up and 2 down. And that'll bring up Clark Kinney.
Now batting number 11, Clark Kinney.
How many pitches we were at?
42.
Pitch number 43 for Gruber eats up the third baseman, and Kinney's going to reach. That was a screaming line drive that Nicholas Pinckney couldn't find the handle on, so it's a 2-out single for Clark Kinney. And that'll bring up Jess Schwedler.
Now batting number 3, Jess Schwedler.
All right, welcome back to the top of the fourth inning here at Oxford Field number 2. St. George got number 10, Landon Messick.
Runner goes from first, pitches a strike, throw down to seconds. Wild and backed up nicely by the shortstop. It's a stolen base for Clark Kinney, and it's a no ball and 1 strike count to Schwedler. We're in the bottom of the third. There's still no score in the ball game. Sumter has a runner in scoring position, however, down at second, and it's a no ball and 1 strike count to Schwedler. Pitch on the way is in the dirt all the way to the screen, and Kinney's going to make third. So now the first run 80 feet away. And the count goes even, 1 ball, 1 strike on Schwedler.
First pitch, good, straight to the shortstop. What a catch right there. By number 2, Chase Sturdy.
Pitch on the way is outside. And the count now 2-1.
Once again, sounds like a broken record. We got a hard time. Number 2, this one is Aiden hard time.
2-1 pitch on the way is hit out toward right field. Right fielder comes on. He can't get it. It falls in for a base hit. And Sumter finally breaks through here in the bottom of the third for a 1-0 lead. An RBI single for Schwedler. And Sumter jumps out in front 1-0. That'll bring up Ben Reynolds.
Now batting number 10, Ben Reynolds.
He didn't hit it hard, but he hit it in a perfect spot. Out toward right field. And played on a hop out there by Drake Hutto. So 1-0 Sumter. Schwedler, the runner at first, with 2 outs and now 1 run in. Both pitchers slow down their rhythms considerably with men on base. Now looks like we're ready to go. Reynolds digs in. Schwedler gets his lead. Actually, it's not Schwedler. Who is it over there? It's
Ben Reynolds.
It's a courtesy runner. The courtesy runner is Matthew Lawson. The ball gets into center field, but Lawson stays at second. So Lawson came in to run for Schwedler. Sorry, I missed that. And he now stands at second with a 1 ball, no strike count to Ben Reynolds. 1 ball, 1 strike count. Check the count. 1 ball, 1 strike count. So Lawson leads off second, 1-1 pitch on the way. In the dirt for ball 2, 2-1. Excuse me, 1-1. One ball, 1 strike. 2 outs and a run in here in the bottom of the third for Sumter. They've broken through to lead 1-0. Now the count's 2-1. Lawson with a decent lead off a second. Gruber gives him a glance, brings it to the plate, and it's outside for ball 3. 3-1 pitch on the way. Off-speed pitch stays inside. And it's ball 4 and a walk to Ben Reynolds. And Hayden Mims will now come to bat with runners at first and second. 2 outs and a run in for Sumter. Runners get their leads on first and second. And the pitch is hit out toward left field, actually foul just off the third base side, and the count's 0-1. No balls, 1 strike to Hayden Mims. 0-1 pitch. Up high, 1-1 the count. Fouled out of play. 1-2 the count. One-two pitch on the way. Hit out toward short, fielded by the shortstop. Long throw, going to be a close play, but the throw is in time. And Mims is retired at first. So Sumter turned away in the bottom of the third, but not before they score a run and take the lead as we head to the top of the fourth. It's 1-0 Sumter. You're watching Dixie Junior Boys State Championship Baseball live on the County Channel. We head to the top of the fourth inning with Sumter now in front 1-0. Nicholas Pinckney will lead off for St. George. Gruber, excuse me, not Gruber, Ben Reynolds. Sumter's playing defense. Ben Reynolds still on the mound for Sumter. He's thrown 55 pitches so far. In junior boys, they're allowed 95. So he's got a ways to go until he reaches his limit. And Pinckney, a left-handed batter, digs in. Pitch on the way is cut on and missed for strike 1. Sumter on top 1-0. Bases empty. Nobody out in the top of the fourth. Pitch on the way. Misses down low for ball one. 1 ball, 1 strike to Pinckney. Lots of cliches on the Field 2 telecast, but they're good ones. Pitch on the way to the plate is swung on and missed, and the count's even now 2-2. When I took communications classes when I was a student out at USCB, the local university, my communications professors always said, never use cliches when you're in public speaking. An emphatic strike 3 call by the umpire. I heard that in the press box with the headset on, the window shut and everything. So that's 1 down here in the top of the 4th. His right arm was shaking. He was clenching his fist. Very clearly 1 down. And now Mason Fender, the batter for St. George, with the bases empty and 1 down.
Now batting number 16, Mason Fender.
Reynolds into the wind and the pitch on the way. Fisted to the screen for strike 1. A 1 pitch on the way. Here it is, and it's up high. 1 ball, 1 strike, the count. I'm knocking on wood as I'm saying this, but I don't think weather will be a factor this afternoon or this evening, anything at all, but certainly nothing like it was last night. But I think it may be cloudy, but I think the rain is going to stay away, and we'll have a beautiful, much cooler evening than we're used to in July in the low country for baseball here at Oscar Frazier Park. So if you're in the area, come on out. Good food and everything else. Yes, correction, that we are not used to in July. We're used to being 100 degrees and 1,000% humidity, and a little reprieve from that. It was, some descriptions said it was cool this morning. I would never go that far in July, but it felt good. Definitely not hot, but I wouldn't go so far as to say it was cool. The 3-1 pitch is about to be delivered. Here it is. And it is a ball. And that is a 1-out walk to Mason Fender. He trots down to first. And that will bring up Adam Clegg. I was over at the university earlier today, and some of the students said it was cold outside. I looked at it and went, okay, whatever you need to think. It might have been 76, 77 degrees. Not how I define cold. Check swing, I believe he went around, and he did. 1 strike, the count to Clegg. Fender, the runner down at first. There's 1 out, and St. George trails by 1 as they bat here in the top of the 4th. A 1 pitch on the way to Clegg is fouled off. 0-2 the count. Pitch on the way to the plate stays high. And the count 1 ball and 2 strikes to Adam Clegg, the catcher for St. George. You can see on that shot from center field the shadowy first base side of the infield. inside and hit to the shortstop on the fly. Snap throw to first is going to be late. So that is the second out here in the top of the fourth. Runner remains at first, and Drake Hutto will be the batter.
Now batting number 7, Drake Hutto.
Runner leads off first. And the pitch to the plate's outside, ball 1 to Hutto. These games in both the Dixie Junior Boys Tournament and the Dixie Boys Tournament, all of these games are being streamed online at BeaufortCountySC.gov. They're also being shown on the Beaufort County channel. But if you've missed any of the action, you can go to BeaufortCountySC.gov and purchase DVDs of any of these games. And information on how to do that is available once again at BeaufortCountySC.gov. Pitch is hit out towards second and caught for out number 3. St. George gets a base runner, but they fail to score. We head into the bottom of the fourth. Good game, low scoring game. Sumter leads 1-0. And we'll be right back on the county channel.
Pitch count for Reynolds is 71.
That was Reynolds' pinch count at 71, right?
Yep.
56 for Gruber.
Don't let them grow up to that age. It's all downhill from there. It's already there. He turns 13 on Sunday.
My son's 2.5. I tell him all the time, I'm not going to let you get big. I want to always be able to cuddle with you.
Leading off for Sumter is
Chase Denton leads off for Sumter in the bottom of inning 4. Sumter out in front 1-0 in this elimination game in the Dixie Junior Boys division of this state tournament. And over on field 2, the game is tied now between North Myrtle Beach and St. George. In the boys division, 2-2 is the score as they play in the 5th inning over on field 2. Here it's an off-speed pitch for a strike to Chase Denton. Pitch number 58 of the day for Gruber on the way, and it misses outside for ball 1. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. Again, these pitchers are allowed 95 pitches. If that 95th pitch occurs in the middle of an at-bat, they are allowed to finish the at-bat, but then they would be finished for the day. The pitch is swung on and missed, and the count's now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Off-speed pitch is fisted foul past third. Still 1 ball, 2 strikes. Off-speed pitch stays outside. And that is popped up a mile high on the infield. Shortstop drifts back out into short left. And he has it for the first out. So 1 up, 1 down here in the bottom of the fourth.
Now batting number 14, Bryson.
And Bryson Hodge now the batter. That is ripped past third into left field. Solid single for Bryson Hodge, and he becomes the runner at first with 1 out. Blake Van Patten now stands in. Sumter up by 1. They try to get a little more here in the bottom of the fourth. Runner goes, and the catcher can't handle the baseball, so that'll be a stolen base for Bryson Hodge. Another runner in scoring position for Sumter with a no ball and 1 strike count to Blake Van Patten. A 1 pitch on the way. High and inside, ball 1. Off-speed pitch is in there for a strike. Good pitch from Gruber. 0-2 the count. He's thrown more off-speed pitches, I believe, Gruber has, than I've seen any other pitcher throw in this tournament. As the count goes to 2-2, and he's probably going to feel it when he's finished, especially tomorrow. Those off-speed pitches put a lot of pressure on the forearm, the elbow, and the shoulder. And there's another one, and it was a good pitch. He had Blake Van Patten way out front, and Van Patten strikes out. Number 2, right? For the second out. That takes us back to the top of the order, and Sean Rouse, who is a very strong young man. Snap throw towards second. Pretty good throw there by Gruber, but back safely.
Batting for Sumter is number 2, Sean Rouse.
Is Hodge. That's way inside. And now a meeting on the mound for St. George. Coach bringing the hook with him, or this just a little pep talk? Well, looks like just a pep talk. Dixie junior boys players, just FYI, for those who may not know, are 13 and 14 years old. The Dixie boys division are comprised of young men 14 years old. So 2 different divisions, 2 different tournaments this week. Field 2 features the Dixie boys, and this game here at Field 3 between Sumter and St. George, the Dixie junior boys. And that is hit high and deep to center field. Center fielder goes back. That ball's up against the wall. Sumter's going to lead 2-0. And it's going to be a 2-out RBI double for Sean Rouse. I mentioned when he stepped up to the batter's box, he was a strong young man, and he almost hit that out of here. But he'll settle for a run-scoring double, and Sumter increases their lead. It's now 2-0. So Rouse stands down at second.
Now batting for Sumter is number 9, Dylan Jones.
And now Dylan Jones will stand in for the Sumter All-Stars. It's 300 feet to the outfield, to all fields in the outfield. And Rouse hit that 295 feet away, thereabouts. Long way out there. What's the distance of the pitcher's mound at the plate? 54? And I didn't know, but I just learned, thanks to our official scorekeeper, that the distance from the plate to the mound is 54 feet at this level. So it's 60 feet 6 inches at the majors, 54 feet at this level, 80 feet between the bases, and 300 feet to all outfield. So the configuration of the field a little bit smaller for these young men. Not that they're not strong enough to reach a major league size ballpark's outfield fences. Some of these young men certainly are. Sean Rouse might be one of them. As he stands down at second, his double has put Sumter in front by 2-0 the score. And Dylan Jones digs in and awaits the pitch from Gruber, and he hits it toward third and eats up the third baseman. Nice backup by the shortstop, and that'll keep another run from scoring. That was a great backup by Connor Hartzog for St. George. If that ball gets into left field, Rouse can almost walk home, but as it is, he has to stop at third. Jones becomes the runner over at first. Now Clark Kinney the batter. It's very important to be defensively positioned where you're supposed to be in baseball so you can do exactly what Connor Hartzog just did. And who knows, we're still early in the game. It's just the bottom of the fourth. That play could loom very large as we move on. So Kinney digs in, runner goes from first. That's going to be an easy stolen base for Dylan Jones. And now 2 men in scoring position for Sumter. And a 1-ball, no strike count to Clark Kinney. Pitch misses inside. The count's 2-0. Or did he just say 1-1? I think 2-0. Hard for me to see sometimes up here in the press box. I'm looking through chain link at both the home plate area, really the whole field, and the scoreboard. So sometimes I miss counts, and I apologize for that. So 3-ball and no strike count to Clark Kinney. Runners lead off second and third. There's a huge swing. Kinney air conditions the ballpark, but he comes up empty. And the count now 3-1. He must have had the green light if he saw one he liked. And he saw one he liked, but he couldn't make contact. The count 3-1 now. Three-one pitch about to be delivered by Gruber. Here it is. And it's hit out toward right center field. Everybody chasing it. That ball's going to get down. That ball's going to roll for a while. It's going to score 2 runs. And it's a 2-run double for Clark Kinney, and now a 4-0 lead for Sumter. Kinney hit that ball a long way, just as Rouse did to straightaway center. That was a deep fly ball to the gap in right center field. It got up against the fence. Plenty of time for 2 runs to score. And Kinney stands down at second with a 2-out, 2-run double. And Sumter now leads by 4. Jess Schwedler, now the batter. Snap throw toward second, close play, but back safely is Kinney. These young men must practice that move a lot because we've seen it a lot in this tournament, trying to keep those runners close. And like I said earlier in the game, sometimes that works out for these pitchers, making that quick toss. Sometimes it doesn't. Now he breaks for third, does Clark Kinney, but the pitch is fouled off, and he'll have to go back to second. So Sumter with some aggression on the base paths. And the count's no balls and a strike to Schwedler. Behind Schwedler's back all the way to the fence. And Kinney will take third on the wild pitch. I'm guessing, but I think that when that happens, when the pitch gets behind the batter, it's an off-speed pitch that gets away from the pitcher. His release point is just a little bit off. And the pitch doesn't go exactly where he wants it to, as that pitch didn't either, and the count's now 2-1 to Schwedler. Again, Gruber ready, and the pitch to the plate. Hit high and deep to left field. That's going to get over the left fielder's head. That's up against the wall. And Sumter trading places down at second. That's another RBI double, this time off the bat of Schwedler. It's 5-0 Sumter. And that's the third double, run-scoring double of this inning. And once again, Matthew Lawson will come in to run for Schwedler, so Lawson runs down at second. 5-0 the score. And Hayden Mims, the batter. All this has happened with 2 outs. We've seen that quite a bit this tournament, too. A lot of 2-out lightning from these teams. New pitcher. And a new pitcher will take over for St. George. Waylon Gruber heads out toward the outfield, it looks like. And Mason Fender will take over on the mound for St. George. 5-0 Sumter. They are hitting doubles all over the place here in the bottom of the 4th.
Pitcher, we have a pitching change. Now pitching for St. George is number 16, Mason Fender. Gruber leads the game at 5:26 with 80 pitches. You have the
Waylon Gruber threw 80 pitches in this game, 15 under the limit, but that's still a required rest, and he'll be done for the tournament, because if St. George moves on, championship is tomorrow, and at that pitch count level, he's got to be out for 30 hours. They are allowed to play, they just cannot pitch. That was a good question by Rob Lewis down on the County Channel truck. Yes, they are allowed to play, they just simply can't pitch anymore. That protects their arms, which is why that rule was implemented, again, to protect these young men's arms from overuse and a lot of things, a lot of injuries. And you'll notice if you watch Major League Baseball, that Tommy John procedure on the elbow is happening at earlier and earlier ages. It used to be reserved for pitchers who were up in their 30s playing baseball. Now you see pitchers in their teens and early 20s having that surgery because of so many off-speed pitches being thrown.
now batting for Sumter is number 10, Ben Reynolds.
So Ben Reynolds stands in. Matthew Lawson runs down at second. He runs for Schwedler, who doubled in the 5th run of the game just a moment ago for Sumter. 5-0 the score. And it's ball 1 for Mason Fender. St. George is throwing a lot of off-speed pitches in this game. There's a fastball, and that one's fouled off at the plate, and the count's 1-1. My parents, who lived in Bluffton for many years, were neighbors with a young man. I won't say his name on the air, but neighbors with a young man who had a contract, or was going to have a contract with a major league team, and he blew his shoulder out at 19 years of age. It happens all the time. And it shortens the careers of a lot of really talented young men. You may never see a Jamie Moyer who pitched in the majors till he was 48 years old, or Phil Niekro till he was 46. Satchel Paige was in his 50s when he pitched in the major leagues. I'm 44, and it's hard for me to get out of bed in the morning. I can't imagine still playing athletics as the pitch is outside for ball 4. Reynolds trots down to first with a walk. Runners now first and second for Sumter.
Now batting number 5, Hayden Mims.
Hayden Mims will now be the batter for the Sumter All-Stars. Pitch is outside. 1 ball, no strikes the count. You know, I watch Major League Baseball games a lot. I'm a huge Braves fan. And now that I'm a little older, getting into what I hate to admit is middle age, and I hear players who are 35 and 36 being referred to as over the hill as that pitch is hit out towards second, and St. George is going to be out at the bottom of the 4th. Just makes me feel a little old to know that when you're 35, you're over the hill in baseball. But it's good to know that at 44, you're not over the hill in broadcasting. And we get to, what inning are we in now that top of the 5th coming up. Sumter leads 5-0. You're watching the County Channel. Five nothing Sumter as we head to the top of inning 5. St. George comes to bat. Waylon Gruber leads off for St. George. He started the game on the mound for the St. George All-Stars. And he fouls it out of play, first base side. We were talking in between innings up here in the press box about starting pitching and off-speed pitches and the injuries that you're seeing in younger and younger pitchers. And another factor of baseball that's changed so much in the last 10 or 20 years is the lack of complete games at the major league level. Everybody's on a pitch count. And starting pitchers are doing well these days to get through 6. And if they get into the 7th, you've really done something. That's a strikeout. They have to throw him out at first, but Gruber is down on strikes with a first out in the top of the 5th. Baseball's like everything else. It changes and it evolves, and the major league game different in 2019 than it was even in 2009. And we were talking the other day up here too about all the sabermetrics that are a part of major leagues and all these different categories, offensively and defensively, that I never heard of when I was watching baseball in the 80s. The WHIP, the OPS, the all kinds of things. That WAR, which is wins above replacement. I know what that stands for. They probably existed a long time ago, but nobody talked about them. And now we're talking about launch angle and exit velocity and all this other stuff. Count is 1 ball, 1 strike to Connor Hartzog with the bases empty and 1 out here in the top of the 5th. It's a 5-0 Sumter lead. Everybody wants to know more. And that's the age in which we live in 2019. We have a drone here at Oscar Frazier Park. We wouldn't have had that even 10 years ago, probably. And there is a shot from the lovely drone. The green grass, all the rain has watered this field and made the grass a beautiful shade of green as the count goes to 3 balls and 1 strike to Connor Hartzog. And now the big debate in the major leagues, even more than the pitching in 2019, is the ball juiced? And is that why so many balls are flying out of these major league stadiums? Somebody hit a one-handed home run the other day. I forget who it was. And it ignited the debate about the balls being juiced. 3-2 pitch about to be on the way here to Connor Hartzog. Here it is. There's a swing and a miss for strike 3. 2 up and 2 down here in the top of the 5th. The contention is that with these baseballs being used in the majors in 2019, that the stitching's a little tighter, the core's wound a little more tightly, and that allows for the ball to travel a longer distance. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. Who knows? Pitch on the way is inside to Dawson O'Brien. 1 ball, no strikes. Bases are empty. There are 2 outs in the top of the 5th inning. Sumter with the lead 5-0. Good pitch. Counts even. 1 ball, 1 strike. We were talking the other night here during a lightning delay in the Ozone tournament about some of the tricks that pitchers used to play. Joe Niekro with the sandpaper in his back pocket. Gaylord Perry, the Hall of Famer who played for about 48 teams. He had every trick in the book to try and get a batter out. Pine tar on your elbows, on your forearms. Pine tar on the inside of your cap. Pitch is in there. 2-2. Little Vaseline. Anything you can think of to give yourself an advantage. Give the ball a little more bite on its way to the plate. I miss those days. That was fun, seeing the umpire go out there, tell the pitcher to empty his pockets. There's a swing and a miss for strike 3, and there's a strong inning for Ben Reynolds as St. George goes 1-2-3. We head to the bottom of the 5th. Score remains 5-0 Sumter. We'll be right back here on the County Channel. Chase Denton leads off for Sumter in the bottom of the 5th. They're up by 5, and the first pitch is hit to third. And the throw across the first is dug out by Dawson O'Brien for out number 1 here in the bottom of the 5th. 1 pitch, 1 out, and that will bring up Bryson Hodge.
Now batting number 14, Bryson Hodge.
Over on field 2, St. George has taken a 4-2 lead over North Myrtle Beach. That's in the boys division. There's another off-speed pitch from St. George. Mason Fender still on the mound for St. George. 1 ball, no strikes the count. Fender again in the wind. Pitch on the way. Another off-speed pitch. Fouled off. One pitch is on the way, and it's tapped out toward third, fielded by the third baseman. Throw across to first is not going to be in time. It's an infield hit for Bryson Hodge. And he will stand at first with 1 out for Blake Van Patten. Fender gives Hodge a look. Now he comes set. And he throws over across to first. And a fairly close play over there. Fender tried to catch Hodge sleeping, and he nearly did. And he nearly did again. Runner goes now from first. The pitch is inside, and Hodge picked a perfect pitch to run on. The pitch was inside. Clegg had to reach for it. By the time he was able to set and throw, it was an easy stolen base for Bryson Hodge. So another runner in scoring position for Sumter, and it is a 1 ball and no strike count to Blake Van Patten. 1-0 pitch is on the way. Off-speed pitch sails outside. 2-0 the count. If I can remember, after this game, I'm going to ask St. George's coach about all the off-speed pitches that we're seeing, because I'm curious if that's strategy or just what these kids prefer to throw. They better have some ice handy in the dugouts and on the sidelines for elbows and shoulders when this game's over. 2-1 pitch on the way, and that is tap foul up toward third. The count now 2-2. Another off-speed pitch popped up back toward the screen, and a good attempt, but no catch. And the count's now 2 balls and 2 strikes to Van Patten. Hodge gets a pretty good sized lead off second. And Fender with the pitch to the plate, close, but outside, ball 3. Full count now, 3-2 on Van Patten. Stay tuned to the County Channel for Game 2. Coming your way at 7 o'clock, the host team, the undefeated team, the only undefeated team in the junior division, the Beaufort County All-Stars. They'll face North Augusta right here at the Leo Vanoni Memorial Field, Field 3 at Oscar Frazier Park. That comes your way at 7 o'clock, and I'll have the action for you at 7 o'clock. So stay tuned, get some popcorn pop, make some dinner, pull up a chair and watch the undefeated host team try to remain undefeated as the pitch is popped up foul right toward Jackson Arsenault. Make the play, Jackson. And it bounces down. And his dad Alan Arsenault, who incidentally, both Jackson and Alan is the coach of the Ozone participants in last week's tournament, the Bluffton American team. Jackson Arsenault played center field and pitched. He said, Jackson, you missed another one. That pitch is going to be hit into left field, left center field, and fall, and the throw to third as Sumter tries to take the extra base. Out is Bryson Hodge over at third base. Good play there by St. George. On the play, Van Patten goes around to second, but that's a big force out at third. And that's also the second out in the inning. And that'll bring up Sean Rouse. Last time Sean Rouse was up, he hit a ball to the American flag in center field. It was a double, so we know what he's capable of, and I wonder if St. George would walk him intentionally and choose to pitch to Dylan Jones. That may be what they're talking about on the mound. Let's see what happens. That's what they're going to do. They're going to walk Rouse. And now Sumter will counter that move with a pinch hitter, Jones Deschamps. Now, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. And if my mother-in-law is listening, who was a French major, she'd say it's Deschamps. But we're going to call him Joan Deschamps. My mom grew up in Atlanta, and she watched the Atlanta Crackers play in the 1940s. They were a AAA affiliate for the Milwaukee Braves, and they played at a field in northeast Atlanta called Ponce de Leon Park. Well, of course, it's Ponce de Leon, unless you live in Atlanta, and then it's Ponce de Leon. So we got Jones Deschamps, who bats with Rouse, the runner, at first, and Van Patten down at second. 2 outs. Sumter trying to pad this 5-run lead. I corrected my mom one time. I said Ponce de Leon. You should have seen the look I got. Pitch is in the dirt. Sumter's going to try to take third, and they do it. Heads up base running by Blake Van Patten. Rouse stays at first. So runners first and third are now Fender and Clegg have trouble getting together. Maybe now we're ready. Deschamps stands in, and he awaits the 1-0 pitch. Runner goes from first. The pitch is outside. And that might be catcher's indifference, as Clegg didn't even attempt to throw. Either which way, two runners now in scoring position for Sumter. And it's a 2-ball, no-strike count to Deschamps. That's hit out toward right center field. Everybody chasing it. An attempted dive by the right fielder. It's going to fall in, and another run's in for Sumter. Blake Van Patten comes in to score. It's 6-0. That was a good attempt out there in right field. 3 different players, the second baseman, the center fielder, the right fielder, all converged on that for St. George. But it fell in for an RBI. So Deschamps now the runner at first. Rouse gets all the way around to third. And Clark Kinney now the batters. 6-0, Sumter with the lead. And again, there were 2 outs when all this happened. Runner goes again from first, and that's definitely defensive indifference, as they didn't even give him a look. So another runner down at second. Runners now second and third, and it's a 1-ball and no-strike count to Clark Kinney. There's an off-speed pitch. It's in there for a strike. 1-1 the count. Two balls and 1 strike the count now to Clark Kinney. The winner of this game will move on to the championship round tomorrow. Pitch is hit toward third and off the third baseman literally and bounces into foul territory. It's going to score 2 more runs for Sumter. And they're going to have an 8-0 lead. That got a piece of Nicholas Pinckney over at third base. He tried to corral that, but I'm not sure where it caught him on his body, but it hit Pinckney and then bounced into foul territory, and 2 more runs are in for Sumter. Got to give Kinney a double on that, I guess. 2 more RBIs for Kinney and an 8-0 lead for Sumter. Sumter trying to get into the championship tomorrow. And there are a couple of different scenarios that could present themselves. We'll wait to talk about those until the second game, Buford against North Augusta. It's a little confusing, and I want to make sure I have it all sorted out in between games so I'm not giving you misinformation. So we'll sort all that out for you in the second game. But a couple of different ways that the Dixie Junior Boys Championship Thursday can go here. In much the same way as we saw in the Ozone Championship between Edgefield when they won it last week. Runner now breaks for third. Fouled off, so Kinney's got to go back to second. And the count's 0-2 on Schwedler. Schwedler also had a double in the bottom of the fourth. Oh-2 pitch on the way. Schwedler thought about swinging. He doesn't, and this time Kinney takes third. So some more aggressive base running has the 9th run of the game for Sumter, just 80 feet away. 1-2 pitch on the way to Schwedler. Fender into the wind. Off-speed pitch is hit out toward right field. And it's dropped by the right fielder. He tried to one-hand that when 2 hands might have been a little bit better. And it falls in. That's an E9, and that makes it 9-0 Sumter. Clark Kinney comes in to score. That's an E9 all the way. One of those situations where a 2-handed sure thing would have been more effective than a one-handed grab. 9-0 the score. Schwedler now the runner at first, and looks like he'll run for himself this time. And Ben Reynolds will be the batter. So an unforced error for St. George keeps the inning going. And Reynolds takes ball 1. And now 2 balls and no strikes to count. St. George wins 4-2 over there, guys? Over on field 2, St. George in the boys division defeats North Myrtle Beach by a score of 4-2. And that game is already over. We are in the bottom of the 5th. There are 2 outs. And it's a 9-0 lead for Sumter. These, of course, 7-inning games. So starting to get late here at field 3. Three balls and 1 strike to count. Schwedler, the runner at first. And Fender's pitch on the way is fouled off, and that fills the count, 3-2. Three balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. 9-0 lead for Sumter. Runner leads off first. The throw over there is late. And actually, as the rules dictate, Schwedler, who runs at first, could potentially be the winning run, as the 10-run rule would come into effect if he comes around to score. And that is a little more likely now as Reynolds takes a walk down to first base. So runners are first and second with 2 outs. And Chandler Richardson's going to pinch hit for Sumter. Check it, Cecil Mitchum. You pointed at the wrong one, Jack. Get it right. Cecil Mitchum will pinch hit for Sumter. I'm giving Jackson Arsenault a hard time. He's his dad's assistant, my assistant. Yeah, he's tipping his cap to the crowd. He played a heck of a center field and pitched well for the Bluffton American team in the Ozone tournament. It was fun to call your games, Mr. Arsenault. Well, here's Sumter with a chance to win the ball game right here in the bottom of the fifth. They lead 9-0. And Cecil Mitchum digs in. Runners lead off first and second. The pitch to the plate is lifted out toward left field and caught out there by the left fielder for out number 3. So the game continues, and we head to the top of inning 6. Sumter's on top by 9, and we'll be right back on the County Channel. How we doing? Justin Paget will lead off for St. George as we play in the top of the 6th inning. 9-0 Sumter with the lead. Ben Reynolds still on the mound for Sumter. He's up to 85 pitches in the game, and he's struck out 9 St. George batters so far in the game. So Reynolds gets close to that pitch limit. 1-0 pitch is outside 2-0. And a hit by pitch is how the top of the 6th starts as Paget trots down to first. Not exactly how Reynolds had it drawn up in his mind to begin the top of the 6th. Now he's got a pitch around that. And a pinch hitter, Philip Robinson, will be in to pinch hit. With Paget on first, nobody out here in the top of the 6th.
Now batting for Sumter is number 18, Philip Robinson.
Robinson digs in as Ben Reynolds gives the runner a look back to first. Comes set and brings it to the plate. And it's strike one to Robinson, excuse me. Philip Robinson, the batter. Counts even now, 1-1 strike. This is pitch number 91 coming up for Ben Reynolds. And it's fouled back to the screen. 1-2 strikes the count. Robinson stands in and he waits the 1-2 pitch. Runner leads off first. Inside. 2-2 the count. Two-two pitch on the way is right through there for strike three. And Robinson knew it. He does a U-turn, heads back to the dugout. That's the first out in the top of the sixth. Runner stays at first. Cohen Schuler will now bat for St. George, a pinch hitter. And he swings and misses for strike one. This is pitch, I believe, 94 coming up for Ben Reynolds. So he'll be allowed to finish this at bat if it goes beyond 95 pitches in this at bat. And then that would be the end of the day for Ben Reynolds, who's pitched a whale of a ball game, 10 strikeouts on the afternoon. Schuler digs in. The pitch bounces away from the catcher and down to second. Goes Paget. And this, here comes Sumter's coach. This going to be it right here for Reynolds, or just a so just a quick visit from Sumter's coach. Coach is going to let Reynolds finish this at bat. The count's 1-1 strike to Cohen Schuler. Runner leads off second. The pitch is fouled off. And the count goes to 1-2. And that's who may be coming in next for Sumter. Pitch to the plate's fouled back to the screen. So Reynolds has gone past the 95 pitch limit, but he's in the middle of an at bat, so he'll be allowed to finish this at bat. And then his afternoon is going to be finished. And it looks like Sean Rouse, who's tossing in the bullpen, may come in and relieve Mr. Reynolds, who has pitched himself a great ball game for Sumter. Schuler digs in and he waits the 1-2 pitch. here it is. And that's a way to end the afternoon. Is it strike 3 to Cohen Schuler? That's strikeout number 11 for Ben Reynolds. And at a 98 pitch game, Ben Reynolds' afternoon is finished. Looks like he'll trot over to third base. And it's going to be Chase Denton who'll come in to pitch. Ben Reynolds allowed just 2 hits. And he struck out 11. Very, very strong outing. And Chase Denton will come in and try to wrap things up here in the top of the 6th. Runner on second for St. George and 2 outs.
New pitcher for Sumter is number 7, Chase Denton.
And Denton will face Mason Fender when he has completed his warm-up tosses in just a second.
Is it over here? With 9-0, or do they have to play the 6th?
If they score a 10th run, it'll end. It could end in the bottom of the 6th if they score a 10th run, which they probably will. Well, I do color for that, so I'm mostly the PA announcer for the soccer team, but I'll do a little color.
And he kicks it to him, and he kicks it
Basically, it's what you do. Midfielder kicks it to yeah. I mean, it's honestly, it's boring as all heck, but and sometimes you go 90+ minutes with no goals, and
over to 2,
that's basically what it is. You get a corner kick, it gets a little exciting. You get penalty kicks, that can get exciting. But you get a shot on goal, that can get exciting. But those don't happen that often at college level. So. Looks like we're ready as Denton's first pitch misses outside for ball 1 to Mason Fender.
Now batting number 16, Mason
Justin
Fender.
Padgett, the runner down at second. There are 2 outs in the top of the 6th. Sumter leads the game 9-0. Tap toward third. Across the diamond in plenty of time. And that ends the top of the 6th inning. So Sumter comes up in the bottom of the 6th, up by 9 runs. And we'll be right back for the bottom of the 6th. You're listening to Dixie Junior Boys State Championship Baseball right here live on the County Channel. We'll be right back. We head to the bottom of the 6th with Sumter leading 9-0. Chase Denton leads off. And there's a new pitcher on the mound for St. George. Number 13, Trevor Westbury, a left-hander, takes over. And he delivers a ball, 1 ball, no strikes to Chase Denton. Westbury gets his sign. 1-0 pitch is on the way. It's outside. Ball 2, 2-0. We thought you were going to bring us all a ribeye for dinner, Scott. What happened? 2-0 pitch on the way is an inside-out swing, and it's caught by the first baseman in the air for out number 1. 1 up, 1 down, the bottom of the 6th. Now that'll bring up Schwedler. No, not Schwedler. Wrong number. Chandler Richardson will pinch hit.
Now batting number 34, Chandler Richardson.
So Westbury versus Richardson, and that's ripped just foul past third for strike 1. Coming up at 7 o'clock or right around there here at Field 3, the host team, the Beaufort County All-Stars, will face North Augusta. The first piece of the championship trying to be answered this game between Sumter and St. George. Right now Sumter holds the advantage 9-0. There's another off-speed pitch from a St. George pitcher that's in there for strike 2. 0-2 the count to Chandler Richardson. Oh, 2 pitch on the way. Hits Richardson, right? No, it missed it somehow? How the heck did he not get plunked by that? So the count's 1-2. I thought sure that hit him, but somehow it didn't. So 1 ball, 2 strikes the count. Westbury again ready. 1-2 pitch on the way. Another off-speed pitch, and that's laced into left field. A solid single for Chandler Richardson. He waited back on that off-speed pitch, and he laced it into left field.
Now batting number 4, Blake.
And now Blake Van Patten, the batter. Westbury looks the runner back to first, brings it to the plate, and that's hit down the left field line. That's a fair ball. Richardson rounds second. He rounds third. They're going to send him from third, and that will walk Sumter off as they will win the game 10-0. So Sumter defeats the St. George All-Stars by a final score of 10-0. They will move on to the championship tomorrow. St. George, who played their hearts out, unfortunately, has been eliminated from the Dixie Junior Boys Tournament. So 10-0 Sumter wins. We'll take a short break for 45 minutes or so. Come back for the 7 o'clock game between the host team, the undefeated Beaufort County All-Stars, and North Augusta at 7 o'clock right here live on the County Channel. I'm Jody Vermillion. We'll see you then. Once again, Sumter defeats St. George 10-0, and they have punched their ticket to the championship tomorrow right here at Oscar Frazier Park. We'll see you in about 45 minutes, folks. Until then, so long, everybody.